I'll call to order the Monday, August 10th, 2020 meeting of Crewe Town Council. If everyone would join with me for just a moment of silence, and as we do, remember the tragic losses our community has suffered over the last several weeks. Thank you. And now if everyone would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We're going to have going to go out of order a little bit on the agenda tonight. The first thing we want to do tonight is pass or present and potentially pass the policy for remote participation. Have all council members had an opportunity to review the policy? Okay, perfect. So I won't bother with reading it. But
No,
oh.
clear method. It wasn't like that. I'm sorry.
Just let me know if I'm doing something wrong.
Somebody call?
Well, the purpose of this policy is to allow remote participation. The General Assembly has allowed remote participation, but only if we pass a policy. And we do have a council member who, for medical reasons, needs to participate remotely tonight. So is there a motion on the floor to adopt the policy?
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Davis. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Stinson. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion carries. Now we will try to get Councilman Abel on the phone.
Now dial.
Here we go. He's smarter than the rest of them.
We're not doing for
Hello.
While our town manager is doing that, let's look at the item number 3, approval of minutes and agenda. And you have in front of you the July 13th, 2020 regular meeting minutes and the July 27th, 2020 work session minutes. What is the pleasure of council?
Make a motion to approve the minutes?
Vice Mayor makes a motion, and Councilwoman Yates seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Hey, Billy.
Yeah, Brian, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We got you on speakerphone at the council meeting. So you're in and live.
Okay, I'm on my speakerphone.
Okay?
Okay.
Okay, next item on the agenda is public comment. Is there any public comment? Yes, sir.
I don't see the proposal I submitted. Should I bring it up on the public comment, or is that going to be brought up later?
I believe you were going to bring it up under public comment.
Okay.
So,
I can do that.
sure.
Hi, Mr. Mayor, members of Town Council. My name is Ingo Haas, and I represent, I don't really represent, but I'm here to speak on behalf of Virginia Citizens Defense League. I had submitted a resolution for town council, and I believe you all have a copy of it, that reinforces our Second Amendment rights and also makes some other changes. So as a voter and constituent, I request that the town council support this no local gun control resolution and not pass any gun control affecting local government buildings, parks, recreation and community centers, or permitted events including adjacent streets, or affecting the legal purchase, possession, or transfer of firearms or ammunition, even though a new state law allows such ordinance. Now, the reason for this resolution is a good example of that is Falls Church, where the governing body proposed a gun-free zone for permitted events. So let's say we have a homecoming out here, and the town decides that we cannot have any guns, there'll be a gun-free zone. Well, that's fine, but they also say that adjacent streets. So if a store owner carrying concealed walks out of his business downtown, he could be arrested and immediately be charged and be deemed a felon. And this also goes for adjacent streets. So any streets that are around the festival are also gun-free zones. Which really, the problem here is you can go from one town to the next town and find yourself deemed a felon because one town has a different regulation than the first town. So, and this is the reason that BCDL had proposed this resolution, and all towns and localities adopt this resolution. That we're fine with what if the governor says, we want you to walk upside down on your hands, not carrying a gun, we'll do it. But let's do it unanimously in all the localities. Let's not have each locality have a separate regulation, because in effect it would create some major problems.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And in order for that resolution to be passed by council, a member of council will need to bring it up during new business if they want to. So, I believe everyone received that via email. Perfect. Any other public comments? No other public comments?
I agree.
Alan?
I'll
Yes,
say
sir.
something about it. I agree with him. We've got enough laws on the books to take care of gun controls and everything. We don't need any more gun laws. We got enough on the books now.
Thank you, Chief. Anyone else? Any public comment? Okay, moving on. Review of bills. You have the bill sheet for your review. Number 6, the town manager's report.
You do have the town manager's report attached to your agenda. I'd just like to point out that you already know we are cleaning up the curb and gutter around town, so I do appreciate the public works efforts in that regards. The curbs and gutter around town are looking a lot better, so thank them for that. That's all I've got.
I concur, it looks amazing.
Are there any questions for the town manager on any of those items? And the public?
Are we gonna vote on the financial advisory services piece, or did y'all vote on it at the work session?
I believe that was part of the budget. We budgeted for it.
Right,
It was
but then I thought we were still gonna vote on it. Is that not the case?
Yeah.
Mayor?
Um,
I mean, if y'all, how much, what's the price tag? I mean, I haven't,
It's a general contract for financial.
so they're not gonna
advisory
charge
services.
to do the comprehensive financial review?
They are gonna charge, yes, that's correct.
How much?
I haven't gotten that proposal, but generally, I think they said $7,500 probably.
I mean, I did hear probably, but I just, was it discussed at the work session? Is that is council in consensus that we just entered into the agreement?
Council?
Very well.
I was under the impression that the $7,500 figure was a figure I was given at the meeting with them also. And I was under the impression that, you would be looking at whatever they come back in that proposal, and then you let us know
So Jim,
if it's in line with what we anticipated.
The way I understand it is we pay them a flat fee to do the review, period. Is that accurate or no?
That's my understanding.
Right, and I didn't get an accurate figure on what that fee would be. They tossed out, oh, it might be around 7,500, but I didn't get a accurate idea. If y'all did, then it educated me.
Just in terms of process, these items are already included in the budget, so it affects your.
I know, when we approved the budget, we put it in there so it would be there in case we decided to spend it. Unless I'm recollecting this wrong, correct me, council, but isn't that the mindset that we had?
So, the way budgets work, council has the opportunity to create and approve the budget. We can include language such as we did for the the planning session that will look at the logistics before any final approval. I don't recall making that stipulation for financial services, but if council wants to discuss it further, we can certainly do that.
I mean, if I'm the only one that has questions, then y'all decide, and obviously that's how it works, majority rules. I don't know how much we're gonna pay.
So
For what?
if the proposal comes in at $10,000, would it be problematic to put that out to council for comment?
If y'all want to bring back the agreement is generally the ones I work with them on. They're not gonna, they have standard fees for whatever, and it'll stipulate if you have special projects or whatnot, they'll have a standard rate. They're not gonna send a proposal for every little project they do for us. It's gonna be a long-term contract for probably 5 years, as needed basis, to help with bond financings, special project studies. So that was my understanding, y'all want to discuss it. So we discussed it at a work session. I was going to go forward with signing the contract. This is no different than an
So when we
engineering
sign the
contract.
contract, are we committing to pay a fee?
If they do work and it falls under that.
Well, they're doing a comprehensive review, right? And they're gonna charge us for it. I mean, is
Right,
that right?
this is standard. I'm not sure what the issue is. This is just like if we entered into a contract for engineering services or.
I think what
We would know what we're gonna pay them.
Is, are we signing a contract, and I don't have this concern because I thought they made it clear. I think what his concern is, are we signing a contract that allows them to do work going forward and bill us going forward without council having the opportunity to review those costs? And I'm assuming it's up to whatever the budget is.
So like I said, they're generally not going to charge you for every little thing they do. For big projects like this would be, they're going to tell us up front what the cost would be, and if it's included in the budget, I have the authority to sign up on it.
I understand that. This is my only question. They're gonna do a comprehensive financial review for the town. They're gonna charge a fee for it. What's the fee? That's my question. Am I the only one with that question?
My understanding was 7,500
Is that the fee? I mean, I heard it might be the fee.
Most likely it's the fee.
Okay, and the council agrees that paying $7,500 for a comprehensive financial review is good?
Yes.
All right, easy there.
Okay. Any other questions for the town manager on the town manager's report? Should all be straightforward. Regarding the street name signs, we are still planning on selling the old signs, correct?
We will
Salvaging and selling.
We will salvage the old signs and find a way to make them available for purchase.
Okay, do we need to declare them surplus?
I don't think so. I'm always just doing that administratively.
Okay, perfect. Yes, sir.
Just because I haven't been involved prior. The GIS that Curtin Profit's working on, wouldn't Crewe already be in the county's GIS?
The county has somewhat of a GIS. It's a very basic system. They don't, for example, they don't have a zoning layer. They don't have a lot of layers. It's just basic. So the thought, I didn't initially include it in the budget. That was included in the budget, council's budget, which I do think is a needed thing, but it was included in the budget. So we're moving forward with bringing them on board to prepare a GIS specifically for the town of Crewe.
Okay, so to clarify, we're spending the money to prepare a GIS that's more in-depth than the GIS that the Commissioner of Revenue already pays for that's in place. Just want to clarify, because
Yeah,
before my time, I wasn't aware of this.
It's a town of Crewe GIS system only. That's correct.
Yes, we're looking at several layers, mapping out the water sewer lines, the fire hydrants, various infrastructure, having capability to potentially use part of it for public safety. A lot of different functionality that the county doesn't have. What the county currently has are basically the tax records online.
Yeah,
That's what most counties have got.
Counties, correct, but towns and cities have a more in-depth and pertinent profit, I believe.
It's before my time, I just
Okay,
want
sure.
clarification. It's already approved in the budget, so.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, moving on to mayor's report. You'll find in your packet a proposal, just a thought exercise I put together. If a member of council wants to bring it forward at during new business tonight, or if you just want to take it home, it's the one labeled approved grocery store proposal. Basically, what it is identifying the problem that we don't have a full-service grocery store and haven't for over a decade. The economic reasons for it, and just one way that we can look at going about it. And then, most importantly, are the initial questions for council. Whether or not we want to make this a priority, how far are we willing to blur the lines between using public funds and for private enterprise? Does the criticality of an industry matter? Meaning, I would consider the grocery store a critical industry. And do we want to expend town resources and time to solve this issue? If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer questions on that, or we can talk about doing new business, or you can take it home and digest it, and we can talk about it at a later meeting.
There was a copy in our packet.
I'm sorry?
There was a copy in our packet.
Right, absolutely.
So I'm sure most of us.
Right. And then, other than that, I think that's it for mayor's report. Anyone have any questions for the mayor? Okay, moving on. Town attorney's report.
Yes, thank you. I prepared a memorandum that was dated today's date that you all should all have a copy of, but just to hit some of the high points here. Still working on derelict buildings, getting that resolved. Additionally, working on the Lipscomb Stratton project to get that wrapped up. Probably the biggest item of interest that happened this month is the election. And pursuant to council's instructions, after the town council meeting, I filed the petition to ask the judge to either establish a special election or to ask the judge to make a determination that the charter provision that the town had would be sufficient and that a special election was not necessary. The judge did determine that a special election was necessary despite our request. He has signed that order, everything has been submitted. So, and if you all would like a copy of that order, I'll be glad to provide that to you.
Sure. Can you just email me the order and petition?
Certainly, I'll be
Thank you.
glad to do that.
Does it explain his rationale?
He, in a series of emails that he and I had exchanged, he explains his rationale because he asked me for the town's standpoint, which I explained to him that, you know, certainly it's our position that the charter provisions would trump having the special election, but what he said was that because of the language in Virginia Code Section 24.2-228, read with the charter language, he didn't believe that the charter language was enough to say that we didn't need a special election.
And you
I'll be
pointed out
glad
the
to.
applicability section proceeding?
Hold on, I
Well,
have,
yeah, well, we can talk about it.
yeah, and I'll be glad to send that to you too.
Perfect, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if
Yes, sir.
that's the case, and we have an answer from the circuit court judge, and we don't intend to appeal that decision elsewhere, shouldn't we be changing our town charter to reflect or to coincide with state code at that point? so that there's not this conflict moving forward.
The-
Brian, what's your?
The town, correct me, Tessa, the town charter already says that the town is supposed to follow the state code as it regards to elections, so I'm not sure, I've never been really sure what the issue has been. We've got to follow the state code.
Good enough.
Are there any other questions for the town attorney?
And I have the email up here from the judge, and this explains his rationale. After I had explained to him, why we were asking for the charter to trumpet, he said, this is Judge Paul Sella, who is the judge in Nottaway County. Ms. Bacon, I appreciate your response. I understand the town of Crewe's position, and I realize that the town of Crewe would certainly prefer to avoid the cost of a special election. I believe, however, that the intent of Virginia Code Section 24.2-228 is that the interim appointee would serve only until the special election could be held. I think that the use of the phrase, and this is in quotes, notwithstanding any charter provisions to the contrary, in that code section tends to support the interpretation that there would need to be a special election even if a town's charter does not call for one. With that in mind, I have signed the order that calls for the special election. Yep, and I'll forward that to you too.
Perfect. What is the pleasure of council? Do we want to, is there an appeals process?
You can appeal it. You would have to do a notice of appeal within 30 days, which certainly we're well within the right to do so. It is not my advice that you all do it because, number one, it is very difficult to win an appeal once it goes up, and this will be the Supreme Court of Virginia level. Usually there's a strong deference to the circuit court judge's opinion. The other thing too is that while I will take your money, you would spend more money ultimately in even the filing, not so much the filing fees, but preparing everything. It's a very lengthy process. So unless you all are just interested in establishing some sort of, uniform law that would apply to the whole state, I don't think it's a good use of taxpayer funds.
It probably would make it with the three-judge panel.
It'll probably be dismissed at the three-judge panel, you're right. So the procedure is you file the notice, then you have to prepare a record, and then there's a petition that's filed with the Supreme Court, and basically the panel decides even if the court would hear it. The other thing you're running into too, which is really dangerous, is what happens to our request for the special election in the meantime, and it just raises a lot of issues that I think that we should not raise. But
Okay.
ultimately, it's up to you all.
What is the pleasure of council?
Looks like we're having a special election.
Unfortunately, yeah. Do I have to put out the money?
Councilman Foss? Do you have an opinion?
I already got my printer on standby to make signs.
Okay, well then, there it is. Do we need to alert the registrar, given that she has a deadline for?
We can, but in the code section, it does say that the clerk's office is supposed to send that order over to the registrar. So if you want me to in the morning, I can double check and make sure that that's been done. But, knowing what I know about the clerk's office, I'm sure it was done the day they received it.
And how long do citizens have for a filing deadline?
That would be up to the registrar to determine. I want to say, well, I'm not going to speak outside of my bailiwick. You better check what Angela's
Sure.
doing and see.
I want to say it was August 14th.
14th or 15th, based on
It's,
what was in the newspaper on another matter.
I think it was August 14th is the deadline.
right. Well, that's for printing out or getting information in to print ballots.
Yes.
She's gonna have fun with this. Okay. If we can just
And
let
we
her
also
know
need to find
and
out
to
how
be looking
much
at that
it
order,
will cost.
Brian.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions for the town attorney? Thank you, Tessie.
Thank you.
Okay, under new business, first item on the agenda, item A, USDA rural development funding for police vehicles, request to adopt loan resolution. Town manager.
Yes, Honorable Mayor and Council, as you know, the town was awarded about $44,000 to purchase a police vehicle consisting of about $24,000 in grant proceeds and $20,000 in loan proceeds. And you have attached a loan resolution that's required by rural development to incur debt to proceed with purchasing the vehicle. So I am asking that you do adopt the loan resolution.
Question for the town manager. Is this at all related to 9B, the DCGS grant fund?
Separate grant,
Separate grants, separate vehicles?
So the third.
separate vehicles.
So we have three new cars.
This will be the third car
Okay.
that has not been purchased yet.
And do we have a list of the life expectancy of each vehicle, and so that we can budget for new vehicles further on?
I'm sure we have it somewhere. I'd have to get with the police chief. But normally in bigger fleets, you try to budget 2 or 3 cars every year to do replacements, but we have a much smaller fleet here.
Right.
So probably less need for that type of budgeting, but that's a good
I
idea.
guess that'll be all included in our capital improvement plan?
Yes, sir.
On the gift, okay. Any other questions for the town manager on item 9A? What is the pleasure of council?
I move that we adopt the resolution.
Motion by Councilman Stinson to adopt the resolution.
Second.
Second by Councilman Davis. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Sign that one. I'll sign that one. Item 9B, DCGS Burn Justice Grant for police vehicles. Request to adopt appropriation ordinance.
Yes, Honorable Mayor and Council, this is basically just an appropriation ordinance. This was a grant y'all received last fiscal year, and we did receive, are going to receive $85,150 to purchase the 2 police vehicles we have received. Just a change in the way things are done here. Anytime you have new revenues come in that were unbudgeted, typically the process is you appropriate those into the current year budget. So since those funds have not shown up in any budget, it's just basically an appropriation into the current year budget to show that as a revenue, and you'll offset that with the expense. It's more complicated than it really is, sounds.
Okay. And the $85,150 was the cost of vehicles and the decals and everything?
What do you say?
Any questions of the town manager on item 9B? What is the pleasure of council?
I'll make the motion to accept it.
Motion by Vice Mayor Bowen to accept. Second by Councilwoman Yates. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, that passes. Item 9C, 216 Park Avenue, request to declare a dangerous building and authorize removal. Mr. Brower.
Yes, Honorable Mayor and Council, this is like the fun stuff here. We're getting into property maintenance. Dean Lewis, Nottaway County Building and Code Official, visually inspected the structure, which is a single-wide trailer at 216 Park Avenue. And I did attach as a memo that he did send to Officer Morgan. He considers the structure as fitting into the definition of a dangerous building as described in the town code. The town council in our code has the authority to require property owners to remove, repair, or secure any building, wall, or structure which might endanger the public health or safety. Any such building or wall or structure will be considered a dangerous building per town code, and I do recommend you declare the structure as 216 Park Avenue a dangerous building and authorize us to remove the structure from the property.
Any questions of the town manager?
You have some pictures there of the quote-unquote structure.
All of the appropriate notifications and warnings
Yeah.
and.
You have to, the town code and state code list spells that out. We'll have to go through proper notifications and letters out.
I assume it's vacant?
It looks like it's vacant.
It looks pretty vacant to me.
You gotta ask that question though.
Maybe the rats and the squirrels, but I don't think any humans.
Getting more news than I care.
Any other questions of the town manager? Hearing none, what is the pleasure of council?
Motion to declare it dangerous.
Councilwoman Yates makes a motion to declare.
Giant boss.
I'm sorry, Councilman Foss.
I'd like to look her like her.
It's okay.
Is there any, is there a second?
I second it.
Councilman Reed seconds. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Item 9D, Board of Zoning Appeals, request to nominate individuals for appointment. Mr. Crower.
Yes, Honorable Mayor and Council. Every state, per state code, every locality that has a zoning ordinance, you have to have a Board of Zoning Appeals. I did ask staff to look into this matter with the Nottaway County Circuit Court. The Circuit Court for each locality has to actually appoint members to the Board of Zoning Appeals, and it does not appear they have any record of appointing anybody from the town of Crewe to the Board of Zoning Appeals. So it looks like we're kind of starting over from scratch on that. You'll need to appoint, you'll need to recommend to the Circuit Court 5 individuals to serve on the Board of Zoning Appeals, and then we will forward those names to the Circuit Court for consideration. Our code says that 5 individuals will serve on the BZA, with 1 member being a member of the Planning Commission. You can only have 1 member of the Planning Commission. Per state code, members shall hold no other public office in the locality except that 1 member may be a member of the Planning Commission, and 1 member may be appointed to serve as an officer of election. And we'll also need to start over with staggered terms. So you may not have all 5 individuals tonight. We could always list this as an unfinished item, give you time to think about who you wanted to nominate. But we do have 5 slots. One coming from the Planning Commission that will need to be sent to the Circuit Court.
So does this exist now and just not officially with the court? Do we have people that are already in these slots?
Well, it doesn't really, if they didn't appoint them, it doesn't really exist.
Okay, let me rephrase my question. Are there individuals already identified that have shown interest in the past in serving in this capacity?
There was a memo I did find from Wade to several individuals saying that they had been appointed, or I guess administratively through the town. And I believe one was Lee Simmons,
He's not here.
several others. But basically, you're having to start from scratch on this.
Okay, so any other questions of the town manager on this?
So the predicament we've got in now is somebody files an application for a variance or whatnot. I don't have any board to hear an appeal.
Maybe.
5 people have the audience. No,
Volunteers?
well, given that we would need to ask these individuals as well if they would want to serve, we may need to hold off on actually, unless there's someone here tonight, or, well, we should probably hold off. What's the pleasure of council?
I don't think you have any choice but to hold off and carry it
We
over to the next
can't look on
business.
them right now, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And
contact 5 people and see if they'll do it.
Okay.
and one has to be on the planning commission,
It looks like it says they can, they have to be.
Maybe, right?
maybe.
What's the,
Well, the state code says maybe, I believe. Our code says, yeah, our code says 1 of the 5 appointed members shall be an active member of the planning commission.
okay, so I guess what we need to do is determine amongst yourselves which of the 1, 2, 3 top 4, because they also cannot be on another body. So Councilman Yates is not eligible for that. Okay, none of them are on another board, I believe. So one of those four, and then for other individuals, if council would think of some names, send those names to the town manager by what day?
Wednesday before the next council meeting.
Wednesday before the next council meeting, and the town manager will go through the names. If there's only 5, he can contact each of them, and we can go from there.
Any
Sound like a plan?
volunteers? Any volunteers in the audience?
Okay. Any other questions for the town manager on that, or the does everyone like that process?
It's our only option, I think.
Okay. And the time frame? Good. Okay. Moving on then. That is it for what's on the agenda. Do any members of council have any new business they want to add?
Can we come back to this grocery store business?
Absolutely, we can come back to that grocery store business.
Well, so I've actually already found a I found a grocery store up in Richmond. It's a community, so it's called Market on 25th. It's community sourced and community supported. They also participate in a program called like the Virginia Fresh Initiative or something along those lines, where they're able to offer fresh produce to EBT cardholders at half the price with a subsidized program through the state. Given that I know with Crewe Primary specifically being a Title I school, that means that 60% of the students in that school are at or below the poverty level. So I mean, Crewe has a poverty issue and has a food scarcity issue. So I think it would be beneficial for our community to kind of reach out to the board, which I think is made up about, I think it's 4 or 5 people from the community around 25th Street in Richmond, and kind of see how they, you know, were able to structure their project and see how we can use that to, you know, help our situation here.
Okay, well, the under their proposal, number 1 would be to assemble a task force to conduct research and create a plan for aiding private enterprise and bringing in essential business to Western, bringing in essential business to Western Nottaway County. Would council want to take that first step and to further explore this idea, or do we want to table this temporarily?
I would like to do a task force.
Okay.
And I mean, that second step, I mean, I think it's the third, determining the blurred lines thing. I mean, that is a concern for me. But
Sounds like.
I think there's no harm in the initial research of it.
Okay.
Sounds like to me she's identifying somebody other that might help provide a service here. You know, it doesn't necessarily require, we don't offer, throw out there, we're gonna build you a nice new building and use public funds to do so. Find out what their service is and what they would require.
Well, they're not a service, but to
they're
kind of see how they're structured and,
And then find somebody here that would do the same thing.
you know, something. And it could serve as a starting point, you know, of how to move forward.
Right. The first step is, like Councilman Foss is saying, is to just gather data. And so does council like the idea of establishing a task force to sort of look at that data?
I think it's an excellent idea.
Okay. Are there any volunteers? We'll take 2 members of council for the test. Councilman Foss and
Yates.
Councilman Yates. Okay. We'll keep it at 2 for now. Simply because 3 creates a meeting and that creates further issues. I'll meet with you guys
Wednesdays are good for me.
Okay, we'll talk after this meeting and see if there are other community members we can involve as well. And if, okay, we'll go from there. Anything else on the grocery store issue? Okay, any other new business, that council wants to bring up?
Everybody read the resolution, so I make a motion that we vote on the resolution.
Okay, does someone have a copy of the resolution?
I do. On email.
I have a question. The resolution, as I understand it, is to say that we won't pass an ordinance. But we haven't.
Is to do what? Say that again?
To say that the
Want me to read
resolution
it?
is saying that we would not in the future at some time pass an ordinance about this gun control. But we haven't been considering an ordinance anyway.
So I think, Councilmember Stinson is correct. You don't practically have to pass a resolution you're just preventing something hadn't occurred yet. And that also applies to local government buildings as well.
Now, I believe the intent of this is for council to affirm their stance of the status quo, that we currently don't have these laws and we don't intend on having it. So just like any symbolic resolution, this is essentially what that is. I will go ahead and read it just for the sake of the audience who may not know what we're talking about. A resolution of Crewe Town Council, whereas in acknowledgement of its deep commitment to the rights of all citizens of and visitors to Crewe, keep and bear arms, Crewe Town Council previously declared Crewe to be a Second Amendment sanctuary. And whereas certain legislation has been passed in the Virginia General Assembly that allows localities to, by ordinance, ban otherwise lawfully possess and transport firearms from certain public spaces, causing law-abiding citizens to be exposed to the patchwork of local ordinances as they travel throughout the Commonwealth. And whereas the Crewe Town Council acknowledges the significant economic contribution made to our community by tourists and visitors, and does not wish to discourage travel to Crewe. And whereas Crewe wishes to welcome all law-abiding citizens who wish to live in, visit, or otherwise participate in the economy of our community, including those citizens and visitors who choose to legally carry a firearm for personal protection. And whereas the Crewe Town Council does not wish to infringe on the rights of the citizens of or visitors to Crewe to keep and bear arms. And whereas the Crewe Town Council wishes to express its continued opposition to any law that would unconstitutionally restrict the rights of the citizens of and visitors to Crewe to keep and bear arms. Now therefore be resolved by the Town Council of Crewe, Virginia, that the Crewe Town Council hereby declares Crewe, Virginia shall not exercise any authority granted to it by Section 15.2-915E of the Code of Virginia to regulate or prohibit the otherwise legal purchase, possession, or transfer of firearms or ammunition. The undersigned clerk of the Town Council of the Town of Crewe hereby certifies that the resolution set forth above was adopted during an open meeting on August 10th, 2020 by the Town Council with the following votes in there.
Well, since we're already a Second Amendment sanctuary, this seems redundant.
I agree.
Well, the motion's on the floor. If it doesn't get a second, we don't vote. That's how it works. We've had a month to take a look at it,
So
Don't
my
support it.
I
question,
still think that we can have some conversation about.
Well, in order for a conversation to take place, technically we do need a second. So motion by Councilman Reed, is there a second?
I'll second the discussion.
Second by Councilman Davis. Now we can open the floor for a discussion.
So mine is more or less a question.
Sure.
Is a resolution, because I don't know, is this resolution binding in the future and future councils that sit in this room that may find themselves under a different set of circumstances than we're in currently? I mean, I carry a gun. I have a concealed weapons permit. I can't think of any circumstance where I would ever want my Second Amendment rights to be infringed upon. But I also don't want to hamstring the town council 10 years from now because we issue a resolution like it. Brian shook his head. So Tessie, is this more or less just a symbolic thing?
That's what I would say, because the thing about it is in the future, if town council wanted to change this resolution, it could issue another resolution amending or modifying the resolution that it has. So really it's something that's more symbolic to pronounce the town council's views.
I wouldn't have a problem with making the resolution. My only concern concern is, are we stepping into a political arena that our board of supervisors has been dodging for the last 12 months, to where we're gonna end up having to deal with this on a monthly basis over and over and over again? That's my concern.
I just don't, I agree with Councilman Simpson, it seems a little bit redundant. We don't have any ordinances regarding this, we haven't, there's none on the table up for discussion. The whole entire county has already been declared a Second Amendment sanctuary county, and now we're discussing this that just, it doesn't really do anything. It doesn't change anything, it's not.
Except it makes a stronger statement, so with all the gun law stuff that Northern's trying to do right now, I guess I have to ask myself whether we do need to take a stance, or maybe a stronger stance with that. I mean, I agree with you that it's kind of redundant, but so maybe it's just another way of saying it all over again? Does that?
I think the
But is that
problem,
necessary?
I think the
Well,
problem
look
that
at what
these
we've got
gentlemen
going
are
on.
here to discuss though is, if we tomorrow or tonight elected to make a town ordinance that would prevent anyone legally carrying a weapon from entering government property here in town, it would supersede, because just like this resolution is symbolic, so is the Second Amendment sanctuary. By law, we have the right to prevent them from coming in this building carrying firearms. And I know several gentlemen here, their concern is that statewide, in the bigger picture, they want to show that there are communities that are not in favor of that, just because Governor Northam gave us the authority.
Right,
to
it
do
makes a bigger statement,
It
it
makes a bigger
reinforces the statement that we're a sanctuary city or town or county.
I would just like to make the statement that we are a town council. We control the town of Crewe. We don't control, we weren't elected as Democrats or Republicans. We were elected to do what's best for our town. I think we're opening ourselves up to get into partisan issues. Who's gonna say what somebody comes up with next year that half of the people in this room won't agree with? And what is it, our right to speak on that? I just don't believe in town government that there needs to be partisan politics.
Well,
That's just my belief.
With respect to the Vice Mayor, I don't think that the Second Amendment should be a partisan issue. I think we should all, regardless of
Well,
party,
agree.
acknowledge all. But I would point to what Councilwoman Yates, it's been a long day, and some others were saying, and the issue right now, I think the reason why VCDL is pushing this resolution is because there is a General Assembly session, a special session next week that may have some gun-related issues on it. So they're just trying to get localities to affirm their
position.
right.
So what do we need to do to bring this to vote? He's made the motion.
Well, is there any other discussion on the issue?
I don't know, I have to speak personally. I'm a constitutionalist, I believe in our Second Amendment rights and everything, all the rights that have been given to us. So with our Constitution being under such attack right now, and our rights as citizens, I tend to lean towards making the statement publicly again and again, because I feel like so much is at risk right now with the way our country is moving.
Any other discussion?
Councilman
Okay.
Abel, can he hear us?
He can. Councilman Abel, do you have anything to say to weigh in on this?
One thing I will say that, and I apologize, before Councilman Abel participates with anything, my advice would be that he does need to state on record that he is participating due to, remotely, and say that he's participating due to a medical emergency too.
Did you get that, Councilman Abel?
Yes, sir. I'm on a medical emergency. and see and I'll participate.
Thank you, Councilman Abel. Do you have anything to add to this discussion?
Yes, sir. If we wait till they take our second amendment right, we're gonna wait too long. We need to act now on how much good it's gonna do. But at least he shows, it'll show the people that are making these laws that we're thinking about them, maybe change something. But we need to let them know that we're thinking about what they're gonna do to us, and it's coming. That's what I believe in.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other discussion? Okay, there has been a motion and a second. I'll take a roll call vote. Councilman Reed.
Aye.
Councilwoman, Vice Mayor Bowman.
No.
Councilman Yates.
Aye.
Councilman Abel.
Yes.
Councilwoman Stinson.
No.
Councilman Davis.
Yes.
And Councilwoman Foss.
No.
So by my count, that is 1, 2, 3, 4. To 3, the resolution carries. Any other new business that council wants to bring up? And I don't believe we have any continuing business. So we will move into public comment section. Just to put that out there to everyone in the audience, we had a very productive work session 2 weeks ago, last week, whatever it was. And council decided to amend the agenda so that we had a return to our previous practice of 2 public comment sections, one at the beginning, one at the end, to allow as much input from the public as possible. So with that, our second public comment section, is there anything from the public? Any public comment?
Very pleased that y'all voted to go ahead, as Billy Abel had said, to move on this, because it does send a message to Tim Kaine and Warner and Governor Northam that we do not want Northern Virginia making the laws that we live by.
Thank you. And I'm sorry, could you, just for your, for the record, could you give your name?
Wayne Hall.
Wayne Hall. Okay, thank you. Any other public comment? Hearing none. Next item on the agenda is a motion, closed meeting pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A1, personnel matter regarding a council appointee in a managerial position. Is there a motion to move into closed session?
So,
Motion by, we'll call that Councilman Reed, and a second by Councilman Davis. All in favor? Okay, we are in closed session. We are out of closed session. At this point, I need to certify that the only matters that we discussed were those matters pursuant to Code of Virginia Section 2.2-3711A, personnel. And I will ask Councilman Reed.
I affirm.
Vice Mayor Bowman.
Certified.
Councilman Yates.
I've never done this before.
Certified.
Certified.
Right. The question
Okay.
for you, just so you understand what you're certifying, is that the only thing that we discussed was that
Gotcha.
what was
Certified.
that? Okay. Councilman Abel.
I certify.
Councilman Simpson.
Certified.
Shawan.
certified.
And Councilman Foss.
Certified.
Okay. Are there any other matters before council that we need to discuss? Okay. Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by
Second.
Stinson and
I know.
Bowen.
Aye.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?